Welcome back, guys, or if you're new to my channel, this is Automotive Anonymous, and that's the 2026 Chevy Equinox. But more specifically, this is the Limited or the LT trim level, and it's in a color that Chevy likes to call Radiant Red Tintcoat, which I think on a sunny day like today looks absolutely fantastic because there's a lot of metallic flake in the paint. But while this is one of the most recently refreshed compact crossovers that you can buy, it's not perfect. So today I get to share the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Chevy Equinox to help you guys at home decide if this might be the right vehicle for you or if you should leave it at the lot and look at the other crossover competition. So today you can expect to see a walk around, all the specs, initial driving impressions, 0 to 60 on GPS, and then my final thoughts. And huge thanks to Twin Falls Chevy for letting me borrow this one for the day. I'll link them below if you're interested because they sell below MSRP. They ship all over the country. And with that said, let's dive right into this review. And thank you so much for watching car videos on the YouTube. And if you get anything out of this video today, or you like the Chevy Equinox, please consider liking my video. Basically, that lets me know to make more stuff like this. It helps my video get shared, but it'll also help you by having the YouTube choose to show you more stuff like this. Thank you so much. But if you're new to Chevy, or the Chevy Equinox, there's a few things that you should probably know. Chevrolet was born in Detroit, Michigan, back in 1911, so they've been around probably longer than any of us have. And while they do offer a large variety of vehicles, between the Corvette sports car all the way to the heavy-duty Silverados, the Equinox is actually a fairly young model. These came out only 20 years ago in 2005. And while this generation is now the fourth generation of the Equinox, coming out last year for 2025, it is kind of strange to say that this is already a 2026 model year, especially when it's only May of 2025 as I'm currently filming this. But these are actually pretty popular compact crossovers. In the United States market, they usually sell over 200,000 every single year. They are assembled in Mexico and China. This specific example was assembled in Mexico, and they are sold in a few other countries. But there's actually a variety of ways that you can have your Chevy Equinox. There are 3 trim levels. There is the LT, the RS, and the Active. This one being an LT, it starts at about $30,000. It does have all-wheel drive, which unfortunately is an upcharge of $2,000, and then it has a few other goodies and options, making this about a $36,000 vehicle. But what do you get for $36,000? You get a 5-star crash test rated vehicle. While this is not a top safety pick and is certainly not the most safe compact crossover in its class, it still has a whole host of standard safety features. But keep in mind, all safety features are not created equal. Some systems are more competent than others, and I do have to say, in driving this around for a while, that a few other competitors, like the Subaru Forester, do have much more advanced, much more competent safety features than this. But there's still blind spot detection, adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, and a lot of the main ones that really should be included in all new vehicles, especially at the $36,000 price point. But what you might not expect that this vehicle does offer is it has a power liftgate. It has pretty decent factory all-season tires on a nice 17-inch wheel. It has heated front seats, remote start, a heated steering wheel, and a lot of other creature comforts and technology that you're going to see throughout this video. And just like a lot of other compact crossovers, this one is very pleasant and well-mannered to drive, both on the road and at highway and interstate speeds, at least in my experience with it today. Overall, it's about 15.25 feet long. The wheelbase is just under 9 feet, which is pretty average for most of this class of vehicle. And then it's about 6 feet wide, 5.5 feet tall. It weighs around 3,300 to 3,600 pounds, just depending on if it's a front-wheel drive or an all-wheel drive one and which other features and settings it has. But this thing, while being only able to tow about 1,500 pounds, actually has an insanely impressive payload capacity of basically 1,200 pounds, or roughly 300 pounds more than most of the other compact crossovers. And then it has about 8 inches of ground clearance. If it's an all-wheel drive model like this, it has a 347 final axle ratio. If it's a front-wheel drive model, it has a 587, and it can do a full circle in about 37 feet. And then the last few things to mention here is the gas door is located on the driver's side, which I really prefer, but when you lock the vehicle, the gas door doesn't lock, so the bums might try to siphon some of your 14.9 gallons of gas, which I will say is a pretty average gas tank size for a compact crossover. A few are larger, a few are smaller, but this being rated at only 25 city, 29 on the highway means its max road trip and range is about 444 miles. And then it has a Michelin Primacy all-season tire, which actually is a fairly okay tire for a stock OEM. This has about 930 seconds of tread, and then a 17-inch wheel, which I really like on this 235/65/17. And then this is your key. You have lock, unlock, remote start, power liftgate, and panic button. But you can leave that in your pocket because you do have really fast acting proximity key features right here to lock and unlock the vehicle. The door panels open up large. They're basically just black, darker gray materials, and there's a variety of textures. Most of them are soft touch. I don't necessarily like the piano black right there. Not necessarily because it doesn't look good, but because that thing is going to scratch really easily, especially when it's right next to your hand and it's on a door on a moving part. And then you have power liftgate button right there. You have a bottle and snack pocket. It's a pretty good size snack pocket. And then an unnamed speaker, which these speakers do not sound fantastic, but they are pretty average for a lower trim level compact crossover. And then you don't really have anything on the door sill. You have rubberized mat, rubberized pedals. You do have a dead pedal, which I really like that right there. You have the hood release, but I don't see any warnings about a knee airbag, which is a pretty big knock. I think this vehicle should have a knee airbag. But you do have some storage in the center console, similar to the EV Equinox. And then you have a few options right here. You have Camaro style vents, which are really cool. And then you have a lighting and windshield wiper stock, leather wrapped wheel, paddle shifters for the 8-speed automatic from this all drive version. And then you have the really nice, soft, decently bolstered leather powered seats and no power moonroof up top of this $36,000 example. Sitting inside the Equinox, it's actually a pretty nice, very comfortable place to be at 5'11". I really enjoy how this is all designed. You have good visibility. The side mirror is actually pretty big. You can see the turn signal and the heated feature right there. The hood slopes down, and looking over your shoulder visibility, it's not class leading, but it is better than about half of the other compact crossovers. But what I really don't like is the double screens. They reflect so much stuff. That one's already really dusty. So they're not necessarily the best design. They might look awesome when they're brand new, but they're quickly going to get maybe kind of annoying with all the reflection that they have. You have the basic heads-up display for some of the safety features. You have paddle shifters on the back, the heated feature right there, adaptive cruise over here, voice and volume here. You can also switch all of your screens around with that button, which is pretty cool. This one is still in demo mode. And like a lot of the other Chevys, I don't like that you have to turn on your headlights by going through the widgets right there or going through the display right there. And you can already see how much it's reflecting. It also reflects even more if you did have a sunroof, which is just that much worse. But you do have physical controls for HVAC, heated seats, nice large storage that's rubber lined and has nice walls to protect your stuff from flying out. You have USB A and C style, wireless charger. You have a mode select, which honestly, it's really weird that this doesn't say anything. So you can see all of your different modes up here. You can also turn on all-wheel drive right here to be a normal mode with all-wheel drive or two-wheel drive, or some of the modes select over here will just put you into all-wheel drive automatically. Then you have some cup holders, more storage, and a decent sized center console. So that paired with all the other storage that you get here makes this just about class leading in storage. And then you have a digital rear view mirror, which is really cool. You have a sunglass holder, OnStar buttons, and ooh, that even extends, which is really cool. And then those look like incandescents to me. So with that said, let's turn it off and we'll hop in the back. The back door panels on these are pretty nice because they do open up fairly large, so it's easier to get pets and kids and anything else into the back seat. They're not class leading in how far they open, but they do open bigger than some of the mainstream competitors like my Toyota Rav4 hybrid. And then you can see that the back window is a little bit smaller than the front. The Maroni sticker really takes up a lot of this surface area, and then it just seems to be a little bit higher belt line for the door panel, which it's all the same type of materials as the front, plasticky, but soft touch. They're going to age well. They're going to be really easy to clean. And then I have the seats folded down so that you guys can see that they do raise up a little bit in the front. They are kind of inclined. You have really good all-weather mats and good storage, good room in the footwells in front of the seats, even when they're down, which some compact crossovers like the Mazdas can be kind of tight back here. You also have the child safety anchors on all the seats. Can this? Ooh, I don't think this can recline though, like the Forester and like some of the competitors. But sitting behind myself at 5'11", I have pretty good room in front of my knees. I have a mat pocket, vents, I have some plugins, and even the 60 split bench really isn't that hard to lift up. I also have LED lights right there and some cup holders with my armrest. So overall, the back of this is actually pretty decent, and I would be just fine riding across the country in a vehicle like this. The back of the Equinox actually looks pretty good. Pretty simple and straightforward, at least in my opinion. You have the shark fin antenna, the third brake light on the spoiler equivalent, LED taillights, you have the Chevy emblem, and then you have Equinox all drive in addition to the dealership advertising. It's kind of funny that you can't see the exhaust pipe on this one. It is tucked away very nicely, and then you have a pretty decent departure angle on this vehicle. But there's a few different ways that you can open the hatch and get into your cargo area. You can either push the button on the door panel, you can climb through the back seats, push the button underneath the Chevy emblem, or use the button. It says to push it twice. That is what we're going to do. All right, maybe it wants you to push it twice and then hold it, so that's what we're going to do. And then let go of it quickly, or it'll get stuck. All right, there we go. So it is opening up fairly well. Back here, you have about 30 cubic feet of room. If you drop the second row, you have 64. So 30 and 64 is not class leading, but it is pretty average, kind of middle of the road for a compact crossover. And then back here, you have an LED light. You have a little bit of storage behind the fenders, behind the wheel wells, but it's not blocked off. It's not supported like some other vehicles. You have another LED light right there, which is pretty cool because usually these vehicles only come with one. And it is kind of funny that they are staggered. They're not in the same location. You could also have a privacy shade. And then down here, you actually have pretty good storage. And then if you get even lower than that, you have a temporary spare tire, which it's not a matching one, but still pretty good cargo area overall for this vehicle. And then up top, you have a handle, not a power lift gate, or you have the button to lower it down right there. As we make our way around to the passenger side, I actually really like that Chevy decided not to put any chrome or any weird accents on the side of this vehicle. It just looks really clean. It's basically just the basics, the black windows or the paint color, and then a few other accents, you know, the matte black type of finish at the bottom to help with scuffing and rocks. You have the basic wheels, which while being a two-tone, they really don't look that poor like some other two-tones do, where the silver and the black are such extreme contrasts. That actually blends pretty good, more of a machine gray, I would say. And then you still have the proximity key features right there to lock. You can see you have part of the 360-degree camera right there. And then when you open up the door panel, just like the driver's side, it opens up pretty large. You don't have all the switchgate controls. You also don't have power seats, but it still is heated in this hybridized seat with some cloth and some synthetic materials. It is actually really comfortable for a Chevy Equinox. My backpack seems to be having a good time. You also have access to the tunnel, to the extra storage, and a non-locking glove box, which is actually decently sized. But with that said, let's come around to the front. I'm going to pop the hood, and I'll show you what the 1.5-liter turbo engine looks like. Under the hood is a 1.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. It makes about 175 horsepower at 5,600 RPM, so you do have to rev it out a little bit, or about 203 pound-feet of torque at 2,000 RPM. So the torque does come on soon, and there really isn't a lot of low displacement dead space before you can really start to feel the power, even off of idle. But then it does max out pretty quickly, again, because the torque does come on so soon. You have the induction. It goes through the turbo on the exhaust manifold on the front. Then the piping disappears, comes back up, and goes into the intake side right there. You can see the oil fill 0W20, the oil dipstick. And then you have the battery, the fuse box, all of your reservoirs. For being a 1.5-liter engine, there's actually a lot of room to work on under the hood. And you can see where it mounts to the chassis of the vehicle right there. The serpentine belt is on the side. So this being a smaller engine, there is more room to work on it than some other vehicles. But I do wish that it was a bigger displacement non-turbo engine, or at least I wish that was offered like a lot of the other competition, like the Mazda, like the Toyota Rav4, like the Subaru Forester. So a 1.5-liter engine might be a little bit more high-strung than some of the other competitors, but this actually feels pretty decent driving it. And with that said, let's drop the hood and take it for a drive. Initial driving impressions of the 2026 Chevy Equinox LT. First of all, let's do a rolling acceleration to get up to speed. The 1.5-liter engine with the turbo actually does pretty decent from low speeds, first and second gear specifically. After third, it really starts to slow down, and you can tell that it is then geared a little bit more towards economy. Visibility is actually pretty good forward facing. The hood slopes down low, so this is about as good as any compact crossover. You do have the rear digital mirror, because otherwise you really can't see a whole lot throughout the back of the vehicle. But if you do turn your head, These windows are fairly large. You maybe can't see as close to the vehicle as you can Subaru Forester, but you can see about as well as all the other compact crossovers. And overall, after driving this around for a couple miles, it feels pretty good. The seats are comfortable. The heated feature is nice, although it's not as hot as a few of the other compact crossovers. But I really like that the heated steering wheel in this one is a 360-degree heat setting. So that's pretty cool. We did get blasted by a sprinkler. The wipers do a good job though. And when we slow down to take this corner up ahead, there's not a lot of nosedive. Feels very pleasant and well-mannered. This corner, even in two-wheel drive, front-wheel drive mode right now, still handled pretty well. Should be able to go into all-wheel drive on the fly. Yep, just takes a second to flash and to connect. And we are now in all-wheel drive. Let's do another acceleration. So you can see at speed, it takes a little bit of time to get up to speed once you're already rolling at a good substantial highway speed. But overall, this is pretty composed, especially for how windy it is today. I do have to say though that the speakers don't sound very good, but overall, even though it's a very dark interior, it is very comfortable. The belt line of the vehicle is not overly large, so seeing out of this well, having all the cup holders, all the space, you feel like you are in something pretty special. Having the leather-wrapped heated wheel, having all the little bits of technology, all the safety features that this has, like blind spot, lane keep assist, all that stuff, it's gonna be a pretty enjoyable ride, and especially for $36,000, it doesn't feel like you miss a whole lot. Even handled that bump at 35 miles an hour really smoothly on these 35-inch tires that do have pretty decent sidewall on the Bridgestone All Seasons. So overall, I see why people like these. They offer a lot, especially in the tech and comfort department. Sure, the engine might not be as big and powerful as some of the competition. The all-wheel drive system might not be as good. But overall, this is still a fun and very enjoyable vehicle to drive. And with that said, let me get to the private road and we will do a 0 to 60. 0 to 60 in the 2026 Chevy Equinox. Keep in mind, density altitude is about 4,000 feet. So even though we're turboed, we're still down on power, probably about 7%. We're in two-wheel drive, traction is off. I will do a brake rev for the 8-speed automatic and we'll see what this thing can do. A little bit of wheel spin, I wasn't expecting that. And then that third gear shift really slowed us down with the gearing ratio, and where we really start to run out of horsepower at only 175. So true 0 to 60 came in at 9.24, which is about on par with a lot of the other compact crossovers. My final thoughts of the 2026 Chevy Equinox is I actually like it quite a bit. If you are not a car enthusiast and you don't care about having the most competent all-wheel drive system, the most reliable transmission, or the largest displacement engine, this actually is very appealing. And I see why a couple 100,000 people buy these every single year in the United States market. They sell really well, especially for being a vehicle that just doesn't have much of an enthusiast following. Unlike the Subaru Forester, even the Toyota Rav4, those vehicles have a little bit more of an enthusiast group than this, yet this vehicle outsells a lot of the competition, and I think part of the reason is because it is just a very good vehicle. While it does have a smaller engine, while the front-wheel drive version does have a CVT, and while these are not the most competitively priced compact crossover, they offer a lot of features that make them feel like a very special vehicle. Having a heated steering wheel, heated seats, remote start, power liftgate, having the basic heads-up display, having all the other fun safety features that you've noticed and seen throughout this vehicle, as well as the creature comforts, even having the manual or the dashboard style shifter, like a truck. I love what this vehicle offers. I like a lot of the things about it. I don't necessarily know that I would buy one, again, for those car enthusiast purposes and kind of the things that we care too much about. But honestly, this feels like a very substantial vehicle. And at $36,000, it has a lot of features that most of the competitors just simply do not. But what is your guys' thoughts? What are your opinions? Would you buy one of these? Would you lease one, or would you leave it at the lot? I would love to know. If you guys got anything out of this review today, please consider liking it. Comment your thoughts and opinions below. Subscribe if you haven't already. And check out the Twin Falls Chevy, one of the best Chevy dealerships in the nation, so I'll link them below. Otherwise, I wish you guys the best, and I hope you take care. And until next time, see ya.